Hey, today, what I have here behind me is a 1995 Chevy Tahoe, and it's a 5.7 liter. What we have here is a Chevy Tahoe. It had a no start condition, and we're going to be replacing the starter motor on this vehicle. How do I know that it was the starter motor? Well, let's see what it does. Let's come on over here and see if it's going to crank up or not. Get in here. Starting up this time. Okay. As you see, it had a little hesitation on the crank on starting. And how do I know that it's a starter motor? Well, when I went to the customer's house and they turned the key into the ignition, the lights would come on inside the ignition. Headlights came on, everything. So first thing that I did is I checked battery voltage with a voltmeter. On this one, batteries in the here's the engine compartment, batteries over here on the front right hand side, and I just place it to read volts and put the positive lead here and negative lead here, and I had 12.65 volts letting me know that the battery was good. Next thing that I did is I came over here, and fuse box is located here, and what you really want to look for is the ignition fuse and no, the ignition A, battery, ignition. Make sure those fuses are good. And so I took a voltmeter, tested for continuity on both of these. I tested all of them because whenever you got a no start condition, it could be a plethora of reasons, but I just like to eliminate as much as I can. So I checked all the fuses, they were good. Next thing that I did, I said, okay, could be the starter. So got up underneath the vehicle, and if you're wondering where the starter is on this one, let me grab a flashlight just in case. It's gonna be near the passenger side, closer to the passenger side. Here's the there's a fuel filter, and we're going to the right. Here's a transmission. There's the oil pan right here. There's your drain plug right there, and just to the right of it, there is your starter. There's one bolt, two bolts holding it in, and on the end of it there is an electrical connection right there. I'm gonna disconnect that, and that's it. And if you're wondering where the starter is, here's your transmission right here, and there she is right there. Is a transmission pan. But let's see if I can back up a little bit. But the starter is gonna always be between the engine and the transmission, going into the transmission, because what it does is it engages your flywheel or flex plate and aids in turning the engine so that it will crank. So it's going to be somewhere right between the engine and the transmission, and that's it right there. So what I'm going to do first is disconnect the negative battery terminal, the ground side on the battery first, before I do anything to this starter. And basically you're just going to disconnect your electrical connections, and then disconnect those two mounting bolts. And here's the new starter. And this one right here looks like a little submarine. Here's this is the view from the bottom under the vehicle. You got 1, 2 mounting bolts. There's an electrical connection that is right there, and then I'm gonna let it drop down. There might be another electrical connection right here, right here, that we're gonna have to disconnect. So let's get to it. I'm gonna start by disconnecting this negative battery terminal right here. Okay, so the first thing you're gonna do is disconnect this negative battery ground. On this case being, this was an 8mm. Next thing you're gonna do is come down here and disconnect your electrical connection. What I did is I raised the vehicle with the jack. Place the jack stand right here on the frame rail, right about there, if you're wondering. These right here look to be, let's see if I'm right or wrong, 15mm. So that's about right. Alright. What I'm gonna do is this looks like it it's gonna be about a 7 right there, or 6. Let me grab a different socket. Alright. First thing you want to do is disconnect this electrical connector, and it looks like this is going to be an 8mm. And I just broke it loose. Probably gonna remove the rest of it by hand. And I do have a new, it did come with a new one. You don't necessarily need to jack the vehicle up, but it does help. It gives you a little bit more elbow room down here. Doing this with one hand is just not that fun. Alright. Let's see, once you got that off, what you can do is unbolt these two 15 millimeters, and it should come right out. Alright, now I have taken out both of the mounting bolts right here and right here, and next thing you're gonna do is just where you have disconnected that electrical well, it's not electrical, it's kind of like a ground, but right there, that bolt that you had, that little 8 millimeter, slide that off, and then it should just slide right out of the transmission housing. Just pull it back, and you're gonna notice you still have a battery connection right here. So let me see, you can see it right there, still connected right there by that battery connection. So you just need to take that off right there. Looks like try to flip it around, get a better access to it. And looks like it might be about a 13 millimeter. So I'm gonna grab a 13 millimeter socket or wrench and try to get in here a little bit better. It'd be nice if I can take this housing off. That's kind of in the way. Okay, and that was a 13 millimeter. What I did is I took a 13 millimeter 1/4 inch socket and just placed it on the end of that, broke it off, and I'm just pulling it off by hand now. There you go. And once you got that off, you can you should be able to just pull that battery cable off. Then starter should just come right out. Oh, there's one more cable right there. It's it's like another little 8 millimeter connecting right there. See that cable holding it in? I'm gonna disconnect the 8 millimeter and come right out. Right, I'm over here at the table, and here's the old one. Old bolts. One was a 15 and one was a 14. Both of the new bolts, which I'm going to use, are 15 millimeters. So I'll be using both of these new bolts. They're both 15s. To make installation a little bit easier, so I have to switch up socket sizes. As you can see, this is where our large battery connection was made, and then here's the smaller one right here. Looks like they gave us a bolt here and a new bolt, so I'll be using these new ones. You got the shield on here. I'm probably not going to put that on. It kind of just makes installation a little bit harder. Just kind of gets in the way, and I don't think I'm going to leave that off. I don't think it really. I might put it on. Let's see. Alright, but anyway, this is the new one, and this is the old one. Looks pretty much about the same. Well, I took the shield off and I tried to put it onto the new one, but they wouldn't line up right. And to take it off, that was an inverted Torx bit bolt. But you don't need to do that unless it's gonna. When I tried to put it on, it didn't line up right, so there's no point in even trying to transfer that shield because it would not fit on the new one. And actually, when I first when I was disassembling or removing the starter, I started with the bolt that was here, and I said it may have been an electrical connection. It was not. It was just for the shield. You don't need to remove that. You can just start by disconnecting the negative battery cable. Just take off these two bolts. It'll drop down, and then take off your two battery connections. That's it. It's that simple. So really, all you have to do is just take out these two bolts, remove it, pull the starter back. It'll fall down. Take out those two battery connections. That's it. You don't even have to take out, remove that bolt, which secures one side of the shielding. Now, however, you might want to do that just to give that shield some play, and that might help you to get those bolts off the battery cable bolts off your starter. It might help you out a little bit. Also, if this wire gets in the way, you can just disconnect the electrical sensor right here. If that wire gets in your way, it didn't get in my way, and it was just another step. So it wouldn't be hard to do though. But that's it. Installation is the exact opposite of removal. So all I did was just come in here, and I put on my 2 fasteners, reinstalled my 2 battery connections, tighten them up, and then just install these 2 bolts right here. And I'm about to reconnect the negative battery terminal and crank it up. Alright, I have reinstalled my negative battery terminal, and now I'm about to crank it up. Let's see if it starts. Alright, a moment of truth. Oh yeah. Alright. Well, looks like that worked out. Well, I hope the video was helpful. And turn this off. Now, and I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but how I diagnosed that starter, or how I knew that the starter needed to be replaced. I came down, like I said, I tested the battery. I know it had battery voltage. Tested the fuses. Always look for the simple things first. You don't want to go replace the starter and then find out, you know, it's still not turning. It was something as simple as maybe a bad battery ground connection, or maybe a blown fuse. But basically, how I knew it was a starter, after I tested battery voltage, checked all the fuses, I just got down with a hammer and beat the shit out of the starter. It wouldn't crank up at first. I kept hitting it. I gave it a couple of light taps, just in case it was not the starter. I didn't want to damage it, but I didn't hear the starter engaging. I heard a little clicking. I heard the starter solenoid. I heard it clicking a little bit, but I didn't hear the starter actually engaging or turning at all. So that kind of led me to believe it was a starter more. So I kept it, telling, hey, try to start it up again. And then I'd take a hammer, I'd beat the shit out of it, and it finally cranked up. I heard it, I heard the solenoid slam into the flywheel, and then it cranked up. So I had, this is a pretty big starter, so I had to beat the shit out of it. Basically, what I was trying to say was, it's a pretty big starter on this 5.7 liter 95 Chevy Tahoe. Like on a smaller vehicle, maybe like a Honda Civic or something like that, the starter is about half the size, so you might not have to hit it as hard for the solenoid or for it to unlock, for it to engage, for it to start working. Sometimes you might beat on it, and it's so bad it just won't crank up, period. You can have you can test the starter. You can take it out, apply battery voltage to where the larger battery cable connects to it. That's where your positive is going to go, and then you're going to basically ground the other side of it. So you can test your starter. If you take it off the vehicle, you can test it. You can also test it on the vehicle. Just apply battery voltage to it. If you have a power probe, it's a good way of doing it. That's one way of diagnosing a starter. But other than that, I hope the video was helpful. Appreciate you watching, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you.